So today's video is going to be talking about backup weapons. So what do you carry on your belt or on your person in case your primary weapon is lost or broken in a fight, and why backup weapons are important. So this video has been a long time coming. I was requested to make a video about backup weapons, actually comparing two specific ones, a hand axe and a mace a while ago, and why you might choose one over the other. Is there a good reason to choose one? What my preferences are? I'll say, as always, this is my own opinions. I'm sure people disagree with me, and that is totally fine. But I'm going to talk about backup weapons in general on this, why they're important, why I think you should have one and when you should have one, as well as how to carry them and some options available. So let's start with what a backup weapon is. So in armored combat, in melee, you're team fighting. If you lose your primary weapon or it's broken, so like it's chopped and the head comes off an axe, you cannot fight offensively. You can't throw punches, you can't grapple. The only thing you can do is defensively escape from a grapple or situation and go get another weapon. Generally, that means running back to your team side of the field, to the list, and either having someone hand you in a weapon, or there might be weapons available on a table depending on the format of the tournament, the league, and all that. But you have to run all the way back and get a weapon. To avoid this, you can carry a backup weapon. Backup weapon being something on your belt, or some other way of storing it, but belt's the only way I don't really know about. I guess you could do like a back scabbard or something insane, but that wouldn't make any sense and not be anything anyone really does. So on your belt, these are generally small, light weapons. They're not a primary, but they are designed to be your backup. In fact, you don't even have to fully draw your weapon to continue fighting according to the rules as I am reading them and I've seen them used. So if I had this on my belt, and I were to put my hand on it, I could keep fighting. I have a weapon in hand. So it gives you that option to get out of things. It even gives you the option, let's say you get tangled up using a bigger axe, you throw an axe, it hooks someone else's, and you're pulling on each other. You can drop your weapon, grab your backup, and go fight instead of getting bound up. I've definitely seen times that I've held someone's axe. I'm fighting someone else, and I hold a two-hand or a pole arm, and that guy just keeps pulling on the pole arm, wasting his time when he could just drop it, grab a backup, and keep fighting if that makes more sense for his skill set and things like that. So that's what they are. Let's talk about what the primary backup weapons are. So you have a couple options. Now, when I say backup weapon, like I said, they're generally lighter, smaller weapons, but they can also be just another primary. So I fight with this hand axe all the time. This is my primary weapon. The handle's all beat up. I need to replace it. But this is my primary weapon. When I fight a hand axe and shield, this is mine. So I can use it as a primary, or I can take this or an additional one and put it on a belt as a backup. Another great option is a mace as a backup weapon. So, something light and easy to hold and grab and pull out. And then finally, you can do a falchion or another sword as a backup weapon. Generally a shorter falchion, something that's easy to slide out of the belt, but a falchion. For me, when I think about primary weapons, I think about the weapon that is designed to do the most damage and be most effective in the fight all the time. When I think about a backup weapon, I think about something that allows me to continue fighting, so I don't have to waste time getting a backup. Again, another primary at the back of the field, right? It doesn't mean I can't go do that, though. If I'm near there, I might go grab another great weapon, or I might use my backup to get free and then go get another two-hander or polearm if that's my job, right? So it doesn't eliminate the ability to go get that, but this allows you to stay in the fight immediately. So of the three types of backup weapons, generally you will see hand axe, mace, and like I said, falchion. So these three. I think the falchion is the worst backup weapon of the three. And the reason for this is, while it's an effective weapon, and it's a great weapon for melee, it's a heavier falchion, it's a relatively heavy one, you can use this as a primary weapon, and so you can have a primary to a primary if you're drawing your backup, is I just think they're long and cumbersome, and they're more likely to get tangled up. My goal is never to use my backup, is to have it if I need it. So I don't carry a falchion. Some people do. I have never done it. I've done it a couple times in matches, just found it to be annoying. Even had times that they kind of like hooked and fell out of the belt holder and things like that. So the two I see most often, people using a small hand axe or a mace. I was asked to make a video comparing these two as backup weapons, and I spent the last bunch of fights I had using these alternatively as my backup and seeing if I could find any difference. Now, realistically, the mace is a horrible weapon for our sport, as is. A real mace is a great weapon, but we have to nerf the maces, make them light enough that they don't kill people, because they're designed to literally concuss you in armor, right? To dead and destroy your armor. So they're light enough, so they're not great. In fact, most of the time, when someone is fighting with a mace, it's because they are a new fighter and they like the mace because you don't have to have edge alignment like an axe. You can just kind of hit. Most people fighting with maces are still learning that maces aren't effective, and that's just kind of my opinion and my experience. The exception to that, there are some great grapplers who just don't really care about the weapon, and a mace just allows you to have something. It's very maneuverable. It doesn't get tangled up. So there is times you'll see like really great fighters with a mace, but they're choosing the mace because they're required to use a weapon, but they're really just going to grapple with you. For 99% of people, I think the mace is a bad weapon. With that said, the mace is my favorite backup weapon. And I've switched over to this. I used to always have a hand axe as my backup weapon because my primary weapon is often a hand axe or a two-handed axe, but it's a hand axe if I'm fighting axe and shield, which I do a lot of times. And then so if I lose my primary, well, look at that. My secondary, my backup is the same weapon. So yay, I get to keep fighting. So why wouldn't I keep this as my primary, or as my backup, a primary backup, as my backup weapon if it's also my primary? Why would I switch to a mace if I'm telling you a mace is a terrible weapon? And the reason is, like I said, the point of my backup is to allow me to keep fighting and continue to be engaged while I can make decisions like going to get another weapon or just surviving for the round with the mace and focusing on grappling or whatever. Now, this could change, I guess, based off your position and size a little bit. If your goal is to avoid grappling in all circumstances, then like having a very ineffective weapon that does nothing is going to mean you're like not going to be very helpful on the field. But for me, I found that the mace is a better weapon for me. And here's the reason why. I can't find an easy way to keep a hand axe 100% of the time from not falling out of my belt. And I've tried different belt holders in different ways, frogs are called, but different weapon holders. And what will happen, and I'll back a little bit, is the axe sometimes will get caught on something and pulled up, and then as you get bent, it'll fall out. So I'll go to grab my backup, or I'll finish a round when I don't need my backup and I'll realize it's on the ground somewhere. And that happened to me multiple times. I find the mace is easier to keep in there and doesn't tend to fall out as much. And I also found that when I needed to pull it out, the backup weapon, the mace, slides out easier and it's just easier to get a hand on. So I really have gone to using this, I think, as my favorite backup, as a mace. Something simple that slides in and fits well, doesn't tend to hook and pull itself out. It's easier to get out of my belt if I need to and get just like, I can just grab a hand on it really anywhere, just like rip it out, pull it out. I don't care. I'm just trying to get it in my hand so I can keep fighting. And then I will go and either get another weapon if it's a circumstance or just survive the round with this. Because again, you shouldn't be using this all the time. Like if you're going to your backup weapon regularly, something's wrong, right? Like you shouldn't be using this every round. This is very rare. I think in Nashville, which was, again, this is a while ago, I think I went to my backup axe one time in an entire tournament. But I did lose it a couple times. Just didn't even know it. I was just fighting. All of a sudden, you can see it's down the side of the list, right? So for me, it's about what stays on my belt, but is also easy to get out. Falchions tend to stay pretty well because they're so long, but I actually have seen people struggle to draw them and just get them out because you've got to really get it and keep fighting. So for me, I really have decided the mace is the overall catch-all. And I also kind of like that we have a purpose for it now. Because you get this weapon class that nobody uses that doesn't really do anything. And so what's the value? What's valuable as an easy way to get a weapon in your hand to continue fighting? Now, if you go and use a hand axe, is it a bad choice? No, not at all. I like it, right? If you use a falchion, is it a bad choice? No. People do it, and it's fine. Like, it's really preference. If you're just like only a falchion fighter for some reason, never use anything else, then maybe you don't want a hand axe in your hand. You know, if you're only a hand axe fighter, you probably don't want a falchion. Now, hopefully you're training in all different styles and experimenting and learning things, and that's cool. But for me, the mace has become the backup. It's just easy. So we're going to talk now about how you can carry these and what we use, right? So I'm going to show you a couple different ways of carrying your weapon on your belt, and I'll show you kind of 3 of them that I have available. I'm sure there's 4 ways, I guess. So this is just the belt I fight with, right? So the first thing I'll say, and this is just a very personal preference, I believe my belt should have a real buckle. I do not like the circle loops, the medieval style that you actually see all the time. So what I do is a long belt, right? Obviously I don't have my armor on right now, but I've got it cut also, holding it so I can do it tight. So you got my belt in here, right? And I just take the rest of it and I'll just loop it around and do the little loopy thing that everybody does for your extra. But, I'm gonna pull that shirt down there for extra, but you can see that I still have the belt buckle. Why? Because whenever I've done the circle loop and the loop through like that, over the course of the fight, it slowly just slides down, and eventually, you know, I find them down like my knees after a fight. I just can't get them to stay. I know a lot of people do it. I just have had no luck with it. So I like having an actual belt buckle on my belt, and then I can have it extra long so I can loop it and make it look medieval-y. But for me, that's really important. So that's just a thing on how I want my weapon to be comfortable and on place and know where it is. So we've got a couple different loops. So the first one here is a simple leather loop that you can use. So this came from, was sent to me actually from Eric Breeden from the Salem Doom. I'm actually wearing their shirt, which is really cool. They just got me this shirt with like the ACS logos. It's got their logo on the back of it. Yeah, so like, it's got a logo on the back of it. So like, this is a cool shirt. Thank you very much. But he's making these little belt loops, and they're really affordable and they're simple. I mean, you can make it yourself, but he's doing it. So if you want to order one, you can order from him. This is the prototype. The for sale version is going to have multiple holes. So what does that mean? It means that you can unscrew this and lengthen or shorten the loop to fit your weapon a little more exactly. But that's definitely an option. So with that, all you're going to do is slide your weapon in. It's just going to hang on your belt. It's going to hang on your belt, and you can make them right-handed and left-handed and all that, right? So that's one option. The other option, which I use, have been using until I got this from Eric, is basically, this is a piece of leather that was made as a weapon hanger, and there was originally a circle ring on this, just like a round ring. But the thing was, a ring would rotate, and so weapons fall every time. I couldn't get through a single round without it. So what I did is I basically just took the leather, which I liked. It's got my initials on and stuff. Micah Nelson made this for me. I know he's modified it to fix those rings now. So when I took it, I took a hammer hanger. So this is just a regular hardware hammer hanger, framer hammer hanger, and I riveted it on there. You can literally go to Home Depot and for $10 buy something that looks a lot like this, just a hammer hang. And these work awesome. They're designed basically to drop your hammer in when you're framing, so it's just what it's made for, right? So these work awesome, and you can put different weapon types in here. Everything fits in it. You can adjust the size, obviously, if you really wanted to, but I just riveted it. You can see I got a little broken rivet there, but to repair it. But I've been using this for a while. I really like it. The downside of this is it is a little wider and it is a little more flip, so some stuff can flip out of it a little more versus a leather one, which tends to be more rigid, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to get the weapon out, so you want to make sure you size it. So like this is sized to this mace right now, so it works awesome. The other type, which I don't have on a belt, is something like this. So this is like a Renaissance fair Amazon weapons holder. I would highly recommend nothing like this. If you look up like sword hanger, sword frog on Amazon, you'll get something like this. This is for like LARP stuff, for Renaissance fairs. It's fun. It's cool looking with all the different leathers. So the sword would slide, or the weapon would slide right down in here, and you can adjust the buckles for the right width. Right now this is adjusted for a foam LARP sword, so it's really huge. But it'll go in there, and the problem with this is it's one, I don't know if this is any way historic at all. Like I I don't know. I really think it's just something that looks kind of, Lord of the Ringsy. But also, like, it just gets bound up, it gets tangled. It's just it's a showpiece, right? So I would stay away from that and keep it very simple. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my belt on, I'll back up a little bit, and we'll kind of go through how I hang the weapons, right? So I've got right now my weapon holders on both sides to demonstrate this. I wouldn't obviously do that. And we can talk about kind of how you hang the weapon as well. Alright, so I got my belt on. I'm backing up here a little bit so you can see. And what you've got here is essentially, a hanger on this side, and right now I'm going to hang on this side. I wouldn't have it on both. So I'm a lefty, right? I'm a lefty. So with any kind of hand axe or mace, I want the weapon generally on my strong side. That's how I don't want to cross draw an axe or cross draw a mace. Reason being for that is, like, if we're fighting and I'm bound up, having to get this arm across to here to get a weapon on this side, very difficult. I can almost always get a hand down here. Obviously, if someone has this hand, I can get to this if I have to, but, like, I don't want to. I want to get to this weapon, be able to pull it up. So the reason I like the mace is that reason. Like, I can just reach down, grab it anywhere, pull it right out. Right, so it just comes out, and then I'm ready, and I can adjust it and keep fighting, right? So I don't have to, like, reach or angle. I can also pull it out, and I don't have to index it. So I don't know what I mean by that is I don't have to worry about where my blade's facing before I start fighting. Because you got to remember, when I'm going to a backup weapon, I'm in a bad spot. I've lost a weapon, I've broken a weapon, I'm probably being hit, I'm probably in a grapple. I'm personally probably in a 2-on-1 at that moment, right? Something bad's happening to me. So I want to be able to, again, this belt's a little bit loose because it's made, I've got the holes aren't, made for me normally to wear, not in armor. So it would be a little tighter and fit right up higher a little bit. It would have a little more around my waist up here. Like, I have to keep it a little higher, like here versus down low. But we're demonstrating. So, so when I grab it, I want to just to grab it, have it. As soon as I have it in my hand, I can start fighting. I can adjust it. I can start grappling, etc. With the hand axe in a similar spot, I'm going to grab it and I want to pull it up. But if it gets turned like this, right, I need to now, to use this weapon, I need to fix it and make sure it's straight. And often, like, it'll get turned and we're fighting, and I don't know, with a gauntlet on particularly, which way this is facing. I have to look at it. It slows me down just that little bit in a time that I really am in a bad spot. So again, nothing wrong with this. I love hand axes. Like I said, it's my primary fighting weapon right now. But for a backup, I prefer to use, even in the belt, you can kind of see, like, it can flip backwards. So now I go to grab it, and it's backwards, right? And like I said, it can turn and sometimes get rolled out of this thing in bad situations. It can get hooked and pulled out because of its head. So someone can accidentally grab it and just, with their elbow cop or their shield, and all of a sudden I know my weapon's gone when the fight happens, right? So I want that on my strong side. I think a falchion is harder to draw strong side because you're going to have to draw an inverted hand. It's easier to draw cross. You'll see it cross-fitted with most people. If I'm using the leather holder from Eric, here, so the mace is just going to go here. Now, in this case, like I said, this would be on my strong side, not my weak side, but I have it on both sides. Now, this is actually flipped backwards. He sent me a left and right-handed one. I put it on the wrong side because I'm a lefty, so it actually would be a little bit smoother to draw. But as it comes out of there, I'm just taking it out and I'm going to continue fighting. So I like these a lot, this little leather one he sent, because it's small, light, it's simple. I still like the hammer hanger version a lot, just for, like, it's easier to get in and out. It's the fastest, but it's a little bit more likely that something could get turned and pulled out of it. So it really comes down to what your style is. I think I'm going to switch over to the one Eric sent me and use this for a while because I've been using this for often, and I've had a little bit of problems with the design just because of, like I said, that axe getting flipped out. Now, onto a mace, I've had no issues, but I like the simple design of the leather ring too. There really is a preference. So the final way to do it, we talked about, kind of a hammer hanger design, a traditional loop. There is the Renaissance-y fair type ones, and you also see some people just really tuck a weapon in their belt. Now, this belt's not tight enough, but they'll tuck a sword in their belt, tuck an axe in their belt. There's nothing wrong with this if you're comfortable with it. I just don't like it, right? So like I've seen this a lot, like tucked in, and that's fine, right? That stays pretty good. It's not coming out easy. You can get to it pretty much as fast as anything else. You don't even need a hanger. If you don't have one, put it in your belt and start there. I just think that having a hanger is much simpler and it's easier to use. There are kind of like sleeves that people will make that fit maces. I've seen sleeves for falchions, so it's like a long leather sleeve that you slide it into, like a short scabbard essentially. The weapon goes all the way, that sticks out of, so it's only about that long. Don't have one of those. I haven't used it. I've seen it. It's almost done, always does a cross draw. The issue I have with that is when I have seen people use them, they often have to grab the sheath with one hand and draw the weapon with the other. So you're making that assumption you have both hands free. The fighters that I have seen effective, I know Dustin on my team has used that for us occasionally. And he is someone who's very comfortable with dropping his primary weapon to go to his backup. So if he throws an axe shot and it gets bound up, he'll just let go of it and grab his backup and keep fighting. So he's thinking in the terms of using the backup more likely in a position where he's not engaged in a grapple. I'm more likely to my backup because someone has ripped a weapon out of my hand or it's broken while I'm in a grapple or a tight situation, right? Or like I said, I have had it happen, like I've thrown an axe shot, it's like stuck in someone's armor, and I just let go of it and I'll grab my backup because that's easier. So that's really all I have to talk about today for this is backup weapons. Like I said, you can't go wrong with a hand axe, you can't go wrong with a mace. If I have to compare the two, I've gone to the mace. I think it's better for what I need it for, the times I need a backup. With that said, this will never ever be a primary weapon for me. It just doesn't do the damage I need. Even little hand axes, they hurt, but like they're nothing like a polearm, right? So it takes a lot of force, a lot of timing. I've got to hit the right spots and I'm using this more as a way to throw you off as I'm fighting so that I can then kick your legs out, grapple you, set you up for someone on my team. You're not going to get the force out of this that you're going to get out of a big 4-foot two-handed axe or a 6-foot polearm, obviously. This does nothing. It just doesn't hurt. Like, I'll literally let people just hit me with these sometimes when we're fighting, and I'll deal with other stuff because they're just not effective. So if you see a guy with this, he's either not sure how to use a weapon, or he's a really good grappler, so maybe good luck figuring that out before you're on the ground. Even the good grapplers, though, I've seen them end up going to hand axes or light falchions or something like that. Yeah, those are my thoughts. If you have questions, like, subscribe, follow. You can find Eric Breeden on Facebook or Salem Doom. If you want to order a hanger, if you want to get in contact with me, I can connect you with them. I would love your thoughts. What do you think about backup weapons? Do you carry them? Do you think they're necessary? So many people don't. They just don't have it. It's one more thing they got to deal with. I will be honest, I don't always bring one with me. I bring one when it matters. What do I mean by that? If I'm going to fight in like a local tournament and we're all there for fun, and I may or may not bring a backup. I may not put it on. I may just forget to take it out. It's not a priority for me. But I do make sure anytime the fight matters, I have a backup weapon. This is especially important in positions that I tend to play as someone who does a heavy amount of grappling and a heavy amount of kind of in close fighting, rail fighting, all that stuff, is that like I don't ever want to be in the situation where because I can't get to a weapon, I can't fight, right? So I can't get back to my side, being held, restrained, and like I can't make an offensive move. And I've seen a lot of rounds lost because of this over the years, right? Not a lot of rounds, but a lot of rounds over the years where someone loses their weapons, they have no weapon, they dropped it, whatever, and then they have to get out of that and they end up throwing a punch. They end up trying to grapple, and the ref sits them and says, nope, that's an offensive move. You can't do that without a weapon. Those are the rules, right? We won a round at the U.S. Worlds in the IMCF in Spain, a one-on-one round against Spain in the finals because their fighter lost his polearm, and in the process of trying to disengage to go back to his side of the list, he punched our other fighter in the face, and the ref sat him. Because you can't make an offensive move without a weapon. If he had grabbed a backup and even held it, he could have thrown that strike and run away and maybe gone to get the weapon he wanted or recalibrated or whatever. So I think it matters. It's an important topic for me. Like, subscribe, follow. You can check out my merch store. You cannot get this awesome shirt here, but you got to get this from Eric from Salem Doom. But you can get other cool shirts. You can help support my channel. You can help us grow. Please follow this channel. Please share this channel too. If you have anyone who's getting into fighting, and has questions, there's a lot of videos here. Hopefully they'll find something that helps them. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.